20th of May 1963. I was born in the year of Beatlemania. On the day I was hatched, the album Please Please Me had topped the charts for just over a week. It would remain there until December when the Beatles' next long player, With the Beatles, replaced it. From Me to You was enjoying its third week at the top of the hit parade. It had knocked How Do You Do It by Jerry and the Pacemakers from the summit, but Jerry would bounce back weeks later with I Like It and claim his second number one. By November, Jerry and his Pacemakers would score their third with You'll Never Walk Alone and establish a record as the first band to have their first three releases reach the top of the charts. That achievement would not be equalled until another band from the same city matched their record 21 years later. In 1963, Liverpool was the centre of the pop universe, and the Fab Four, plus the other Mersey-beat maestros from Brian Epstein's stable, were the biggest stars in that universe. From Me to You was a fitting intro tune for the little bundle of joy that had just been delivered into the world. It is maybe what a 16-year-old Irish girl would have said to Edward and Patricia Nash as she handed over their new baby to his new parents. She would not be doing the handing over, though. She was still only a child herself and was probably too distraught at the thought of never seeing her baby again. As my new parents collected me and walked down the path to take me home and start my new life, they were told, "Don't turn around. The mother will be watching you leave." Confirmation, if it were required, that my natural mother was making the biggest and hardest decision of her short life. I was dressed immaculately and there was no evidence that I was an unwanted or an uncared for child. They took me back to their modest council flat in Crompton Street off Scotland Road, and so began what would be 8 weeks of hell. During that first 8 weeks, my natural mother had the opportunity to contemplate her decision to have me adopted. If she felt she had done the wrong thing, then she could have taken me back within that initial 8-week period. I don't know how different my life would have been if she had changed her mind. 48 years on and I've never met her, and the only trace of her in my life is her name on a piece of paper from the adoption agency. If I ever do get to meet her, then I could never thank her enough for the courageous decision she made. I never wondered about what I could have had or what I could have missed out on, because I was given the two best parents a kid could have wished for. For Pat, this cooling off period was torture. Unable to have children of her own due to the side effects of a bout of tuberculosis when she was a child, she had waited what must have seemed like an eternity to have a baby. When it came to raising a family, she was already way behind 6 of the 7 Rogan sisters, who had already squeezed out at least a couple of pups each by the time she collected their little package. I only lived in Crompton Street until I was 2 years old, but I have a few very vivid memories of that time. The flat had a central corridor with a kitchen off to the right, a living room and a bedroom off to the left, and a small bedroom at the end of the hall. The flat was on the ground floor and had 2 others above it and 3 others opposite, sharing a common concrete stairwell. In total, there were 3 sets of 6 flats in this huge brick terrace. At the rear was a big walled courtyard stretching the length of the terrace, and it was crisscrossed with clotheslines and had goals painted crudely in white paint at either end. I was too young to kick a ball about, but no doubt this was Wembley, Anfield or Goodison Park to my cousins and their friends who did. 2 of Pat's sisters, Alice and Mary, lived close by in Epsom Way, and her younger sister Anne was living with her, so I not only had a doting mother in the house, I had a doting aunt too, with a bunch of cousins just around the corner. Auntie Anne reminds me to this day of how I used to scrub her back when she was in the bath. How did she thank me for the soapy bath scrub? Pulling the plug out and pretending that she was being sucked down the plug hole while shouting, "Help, Bry! Save me!" At 2 years old, I didn't have the mental capacity to know that a grown woman was unable to pass through a plug hole, and her bathroom antics would have my bottom lip trembling and my feet running in the direction of my mum to gain her assistance in rescuing her disappearing sister. This mild trauma has not left me mentally scarred, and I have no fears of baths or soapy sponges, but in today's politically correct times, some might say this was child abuse. Another image burned into the memory banks was the gift of a Hornby clockwork train set one Christmas. The box was the brightest purple and had a picture on the front featuring a classic racing green steam train emerging from a tunnel, billowing clouds behind it. Inside was a smaller version of the train on the box lid, with two carriages made from sheet metal and enough rails to make a small oval shaped circuit. There was no billowing steam, but it didn't diminish the pleasure of watching it go round and round until it required a rewind. I still have the train set in my loft, but unfortunately the grand purple box it came in has long since disappeared and been replaced by one from an old cutlery set. It'd probably be worth a few quid now with its original box, but the increased value would probably have ensured that it would have been sold long ago, during leaner times, and I would no longer own it. Liverpool was the centre of the universe, and Scotland Road was the centre of Liverpool. Driving down its length today from Kirkdale Road to Leeds Street, you could never imagine what it looked like back in the late 50s and early 60s. Scotty was famed for having a pub on every corner, but now only a few remain, and, of those still standing, only a couple are still trading. Like the pubs, a lot of Scotty's residents have disappeared too. Having spent the first 2 years of my life as a resident of Scotty, I feel my Scouse credentials are a bit better than some of my friends and relations who were born in the suburbs of Huyton, Garston, Kirkby or Speke. If proper Cockneys are born within the sound of Bow Bells, then I believe proper Scousers are born in town or on Scotty and its environs. However, I wasn't going to be a resident of Scotty Road for very long. We were moving out.